I know you might be having a million things that you could be doing at this point of time, and you're taking the time to join here, so I really thank you for that. I don't want you to feel that you're wasting your time. Exactly that. Okay, so you know what? Let me take this opportunity to rant on my own so that I can at least use that opportunity to get into the mood of doing more live videos. I've been taking uncomfortable actions, which is also what this is about on this on today's call, and that has been helping me grow a lot, tremendously actually, over the past weeks that I've been doing this. Much shorter versions, much shorter videos. This time I'm going to go on the long stretch for an hour and a half, 90 minutes, and I will be taking that as a stepping stone towards a webinar and a workshop actually that I'm creating. So welcome everyone. I wanted to really share something that's been dear to me, and that has been a stepping stone on my path, on my personal path, on my personal journey. And that started with a question that I asked myself when I was getting ready to go to work, and looking at myself in the mirror, asking myself if that was the success I was looking for, if that was the day that I was looking forward to, if that was all that I had gone through in my past in order to be at this moment in time having a family, trying to support my family, and me going crazy mental in my head by questioning myself if I was doing well enough, if I was enough. And going through that mental daily rehearsal, that one day when I realized that I was asking myself that question unconsciously on a daily basis, and thinking for myself if I was not worth better than that, if I was not as useless as I thought I would. And that was the trigger point that really started it off. I was working in another country. I was not in Dubai, where I am now currently. I was in Doha, and a location that was very political. It was very difficult. It was a lot of pressure, a lot of politics, what's going on in that workplace. A lot of pressure, a lot of peer pressure, people who were not happy that I was there, that I took their job, that I took their opportunity, and I faced a lot of resistance. And I, at the time, did not know much how to go through about this, because I was in a position where I felt obliged, and I felt on the receiving end of a favor that was given to me to give me that job. So that point of time when I was asking myself, like, is that all I can do? Is that all that I can do for my family? And starting to feel that I feel useless and hopeless, and asking myself, like, what else can be done? And I started to blame everyone, and I started to blame my boss, and I started to blame my peers, and I started to blame myself. And this is when, at that point of time, when I became aware of that thought, that I decided that enough is enough. And I started to take a step forward and take action on that, so that this thought would stop. And what happened then is that I realized that actually, even though at the time I was blaming the world for my condition and my circumstances, I realized that actually the only point of action that I could take, the only leverage that I had, was myself. And I had, of course, some philosophy already and some beliefs that I had been building up over the years and creating, and that made me realize that actually, okay, even if it's not 100% for me to take the action, it starts with me. And this is the time when I decided to take action. And the actions that I've taken and that I want to share with you today, because I believe that some of you might be feeling some of these feelings that I felt, and I want to share this as a shortcut. It doesn't mean that you're not going to go through that. I still go through some of these thought patterns and going back through that. But what I have now discovered is that I have a strategy that consistently is working for me. That strategy that I can apply consistently when I get back to that situation or to that mindset or these thoughts that keep on appearing. And I become aware of these thoughts. And what I happen to do then is have some step-by-step, strategic, specific actions that I take on myself to change all of that pattern and stop carrying the old story like the Murphy's Law. The Murphy's Law, as you know, is just like when it goes bad, it goes bad. It goes bad for the whole day. You step down from your bed on the right side of the wrong side of the bed, as we say, and the whole day goes haywire, right? And this is what we are going through many times, many of our days, and our days build weeks and build months and build years of similar pattern that we keep on repeating and continuing. So there you already have the 3 steps that we're going to go through. The first step is the mindset. The second step is about being aware of our own thoughts and our thought patterns. And the third step that we're going to share with you today is about stopping carrying on with that old story. And these 3 steps that we're going to go through, I would like, if you will, to go through that process yourselves and answer questions for yourselves, doing the exercises that we're going to do today as a preliminary work, so that you can keep on working on yourself to continue on your journey. The shortcut that I'm suggesting you is what has worked for me. And what I'm suggesting and proposing and offering you is to go through that process yourselves and see if it works for you, if you can tweak it, if you can make it your own, so that you do not have to go avoid the challenge, avoid the hurdles, but go through them much easier, because you will learn it from somebody who's gone through it himself. There's somebody who has done the work for you, so that you don't have to learn it by yourself through trial and error, so that you can take that knowledge with you and start practicing on our call today and get going for yourself, or more after that, of course, right? So what I would like to start today is the mindset. Mindset, I believe is the starting point of pretty much everything that's going on around in our lives, in the sense that our mindset dictates and help us focus on what we are experiencing. There is in our minds a tool, I would say, that's called RAS for short. That's a reticular activating system. And that tool, that RAS system, is a search head that helps you focus on what is important for you. That RAS is turned on when you have something inside of you, consciously or unconsciously, that is important for you. Have you ever noticed, or have you ever experienced that when you are done with shopping and buying something new for yourself, something that you really wanted, something, could be a car, it could be a clothes, it could be a toy for your family, or for your kids or nephews, for your relatives, anything, absolutely anything that you really wanted, you've been searching for it for a while, you couldn't find it anywhere, finally you find it, you have it. As soon as you get out of the store, almost instantaneously, you see it everywhere. Everybody has that clothes, everybody has that car, everybody has that color of car, or that model of the car, everybody has that toy, you see the advertisements everywhere, but you had not seen them before. And it's not that they were not there before, it's just that we were not focusing on it. We were focusing in a specific area or specific way of receiving that item that we were looking for, but we were not looking for it with intent. We were not open to the possibilities on how it could come up to us. So back to family life, right? It happened to me many times, many years actually, for many years, that I was looking for a way of receiving love from my wife, from my daughter, from my parents, in a way that was convenient for myself, in a way that I was expecting. And it was as simple as a thank you. When something was done for me, I would say thank you. And it was something reaction. You know, it's just reaction, it comes automatically. And it was so unconscious that, and so ingrained in my head, that when I was giving, I was expecting that thank you. And God forbid if that thank you was not coming to me. That was outrageous. That was an insult. That was not appreciating what I was doing for that person. That was really bad for me. But it was really bad for me indirectly, because that was really bad that that person would not thank me for what I did. In turn, that became bad for myself, because have you ever noticed that actually we spend more time in our heads with the person that we're thinking about than the time we spend with them physically, face to face? Have you ever noticed that? Right? Put in the chat, raise your hand if that's you. If you realize that actually we're spending more time in our heads with these people than we are face to face, talking, calling, or anything else. And that is what's going on. So the mindset that we have as a foundation, as the core of what we are looking for, is attracting. Now, whether you believe in the law of attraction or not, it doesn't matter. It's attracting in the sense that your mind is looking for to confirm what you have in your head. In psychology, it's about confirmation, right? Belief confirmation. So you have deep down a belief, and I'm not talking about spiritual belief, I'm talking about a mindset again, right? Mindset is setting your mind. If you set your mind for looking for something, then you will find that everywhere. If you focus your mind, if you set your mind to look for something that is negative, something that is not working out, guess what you're going to find? That's what Dr. Murphy found out, right? Murphy's Law. It is about confirming what you already believe inside of yourself, right? That is a powerful tool that our AS system that we have that helps us actually look for what we want. So, easier said than done. It is simply about focusing on having positive thoughts or negative thoughts. Is it about looking for what we want or what we do not want? Focusing on what we want or what we don't want. So, think for a second now. What is, for instance, currently, what is your biggest fear relative to your family? I'll put a poll on the chat over here, and just take the time to think about it a bit. Put on your notebook, on a piece of paper, think about what's your biggest fear now related to your family. Is it about the fear of losing your job? Is it about the fear of not being enough for your family? Or not being enough for yourself? Is it about the fear of feeling helpless and hopeless, useless? I felt totally useless. I enjoy when I feel that I'm contributing. I enjoy when I feel that I'm helping. I enjoy when I feel that I'm assisting and participating in somebody else's growth. And especially when we had a daughter, then that was my point of focus, right? That I wanted to, sometimes too harshly, sometimes too hard, like really trying to help. You know, there was a time when I remember, well, that was many years ago, when I really wanted to help people. I wanted to help them so much that I was looking for issues. And I was going to people and say, and ask them, okay, so what's your biggest problem these days? So that I'm conscious, or not saying it, so that I can help you, right? And by helping you, I would get a friend. So I like to say, I usually, hey, do you want to be my friend? But that's me making joke of myself now about the past when I really wanted to help people. The behind the scene reason for me to wanting to help people is for me to create more connections, for me to feel fulfilled, for me to feel that I'm helping someone, right? So again, ask yourself, what is your biggest fear concerning your family? What is your biggest fear from yourself? Not the fear of losing your family, the fear of what is it for you that you're afraid about for yourself. And now if you take that fear, there are lots of videos that I've made about short videos, a few like 10, 15 minutes each, that I've posted that help us going through the fear, going through a reframe, that help us actually go through that, either overcoming the fear or just living with that fear and being comfortable with it. Like I tell my daughter Alice, everybody can be afraid of something. The thing is not about becoming fearless. It is not about becoming totally immune to fear. It's about courage, and the courage is being afraid and still going for it. And that is what makes the difference between a coward and a courageous person. Still you feel the fear, but you go for it. And that makes a person courageous. This is what I tell my daughter, because she thinks that being afraid is not good. Well, being afraid is natural. Being afraid is normal. Being afraid is helping us survive, right? So that mindset is really putting and setting us towards and forward towards what we are looking at out in the world and receiving the experiences that we face, right? So mindset is so important. That's why I always start with the mindset, and I keep on telling everybody who knows me that I keep on telling them it starts with the mindset. It's not the end, but it starts with the mindset. Without the right mindset, and by I mean right is that serves you well, and that mindset that helps you go forward, that mindset that helps you create a life that is good for you, a life that is helping you go forward and go towards what you want to have. Unless that mindset or that mind is set in that direction, your life's going to be miserable. So the question is, do you want to hit rock bottom, or do you want to start taking action? And if you want to start taking action, if not now, then when? If not here, then where? And if not you, then who? Who is going to change your life? Who is going to make your life and your surrounding better? Help is not coming unless you create that help. Opportunities are not coming until you create these opportunities. But if you want to create opportunities by looking at what you don't want, you'll receive more of what you don't want because of that reticular activating system, this RAS. Your mind is going to look for it. What happens when you go to the doctor? The doctor is supposed to find something wrong with you, right? That's why I don't like these yearly checkups and these whatever, going to the doctor for just to check. I don't like that. For what? Right? Now you may disagree, but understand, it's a mindset, right? And now I feel I'm at 43 soon in just 1 month and 1 day exactly. I'm at the prime of my life. I've never felt so good. I've never felt so strong, so invigorated, so energized, so focused, so excited, ever, ever. So the mindset is that important. And that's why I want to take so much time in there so that we can have that foundation, that consolidate what you already have. Because you already have a mindset. Things have been working out for you somehow, somewhere. So here, let's jot this down a little bit on a piece of paper again. Find 3 things that have worked out for yourself so far. Just 3. 3 things that you can reflect and say, hey, you know what, actually, okay, I have this, yeah? Whether it's, well, I have a family, or I have a job, or I have a support system, or I have friends, again, I don't have any, or is it that you have a roof over your head? Is it that you have food on the table? Something that you can appreciate, that you have, that you already have, something that has worked out for you somehow. Just 3. Write them down. And find out what it is that is already there for you. And if you can be appreciative of that, daily, if you can feel grateful for that, if you can feel that, hey, you know what, I didn't have that, but now I have it, and I'm happy about it. If you can be happy for little things, if you can be happy for anything that you already have and realize that things are working out somehow for you, then that is a stepping stone, and that you can build on. So mindset is where it starts. When 4 years ago, I had the chance of participating for the first time participating in a Spartan race. Now my colleagues at work were really excited, they wanted to go for it. I had just arrived and I was very busy. It was a new job, new workplace, so I was really putting a lot of hours to try to get in the groove and in the mood and getting into the new position, the new environment and everything. So they were already hitting the gym on a weekly basis at least. I had not even run for 10 years before that. And that Spartan race, they decided to step it up and to even go for the Beast. The Beast is a 30K with about 20 to 25 obstacles. And I was like, okay, fine, let's take the challenge on, no problem. But what it turned out is that they had planned, these 2 guys had planned for a 6-month training in order to be ready for that Spartan race, although they were already hitting the gym. And I was so busy, so busy that I could not even hit the gym once in a month, in these 6 months. They took me out for preparation to do a 10-kilometer run in the evening, in the heat of Dubai in the summer. I barely made it to finish this 10K. I don't even remember the time. It was just so disastrous that when I posted that on Instagram at that time, I even said that as a joke that it took me so much time because I stopped for a coffee, I stopped for the view, I stopped for a picture. While I was exhausted, I was pouring sweat. And because of the circumstances, that I was working long hours, many days. I ended up starting my training 30 days before the race. They had 6 months. I did 30 days. And even in these 30 days, I think I went to the gym twice per week. So that's 8 times. 8 times before the Spartan race, and 8 times was just 1 hour at a time, because I wanted to go back home and enjoy the time with my family. So, and these were no excuses, okay? These were my priorities. And I took it lightly, I took Spartan race lightly, and I didn't really know what I was putting my nose into. I don't really like running. I like obstacles though, that's fun, brings back memories. But the bottom line is that this Spartan race, the day came to the Spartan race, I was just excited and enjoying myself. And my colleagues who had 6 months of training did the Spartan race, which ended up being more than expected, a lot more than expected, 50% more, it was 45 kilometers. They did it in 6 hours. And me, a poor idiot like that I am, without preparation, virtually no preparation, I did it in 6 hours and a half. I was hitting 40 years old, and I did it in 6 hours and a half with virtually no preparation. But I had the mindset. And that's the point I want to make here. I had the mindset that prepared me for all of that. That prepared me for enjoying, that prepared me to be focused in the moment. Every step was one more step towards the goal. And I didn't have a huge preparation, I just had the mind working for myself. So how this helps you go into that. So again, 3 things that has worked out for you. Build on that. The next step is, what are 3 things that you want for yourself? Now, of course, this is about your family, but the family is around you. And it's not because you're the main provider or sole provider. It's nothing to do with that. It's because I'm talking to you. And it starts with you. So let's get it started with you, right? Shall we? So 3 things that you want for yourself. You cannot feel poor enough to help the poor people. You cannot be sad enough to help the people who are sad. How do you help them better? By having a higher mindset. By staying on that high level mindset. It's when you're happy that you help people who are sad. Yes, of course, at first people will be like, but I'm sad, you should be sad with me, right? You should feel sympathetic for me, compassionate. But there's a big difference between compassion and sympathy. Compassion is feeling it inside and feel like, man, I really feel for you. But I'm not going to be sad, because I'm not going to help you by lowering my level of energy and my attitude and my mindset, lowering it down so that we are both sad and nothing is happening. 2 people sad talking to each other are not helping each other. They're just digging even further down. You help when you are happy. You help better when you are at your best. So when you have sympathy, this is when you lower yourself down to that level and not help at all. Yes, you're creating a connection because we are sad together and we can cry together. Yes, I understand. But from my experience, I've never helped anyone like this. When my wife was going through some tough times, as I did, and we were going down to the level of the other by saying, oh, I understand you're feeling bad, oh my God, this is sad, and we just dig further down. Yeah, we dig together, that's cool. Nobody's getting out of that hole, right? But now that we've learned through this, now I know I have to give her the space to go through that. And I'm here, behind, next to her, to catch her if needed, or to give her a hand if she wants or if she can. But I realized that my feelings are my own and nobody can affect that unless I want to. Nobody can cheer me up for long. Have you ever been cheered up one day when you had a really tough day, a bad time, and yeah, it's cool, you go with friends and you have fun and you change your mind and you have fun and you lift yourself up a little bit, but when you go back home, boom, you go down again. Because that is an external factor. This is an external like motivation, right? That pulls you up. But once it releases, when it goes down because, or it lets you go because you don't have that support anymore, that's when you crash back in that negativity. But when you have this inside, when you can learn how to deal with these by yourself, this is when you become powerful. This is when you can become inspired and therefore inspiring others to come up with you, not for you to go down. And that is compassion. Because you've been through that as well and you know what it feels like. But you know what it feels like, and you can help people when you know and when you're aware of what your thoughts are. And this is step number 2. Being aware of your thoughts. Becoming aware of what you are thinking. Becoming aware that this is what's going on in your head, and that is going to be translated emotionally, and that's going to be translated as an action. So, becoming mindful of what's going on in your thoughts is the second step towards becoming inspired and being inspiring. That is a process that I have gone through. It took me years to go through that, but you can do it much, much, much faster. Now, part of my journey, I went to Japan. And I went to Japan, I was very much into going through meditation and a bit of yoga as well, a lot of Eastern philosophy, and digging into that, learning for myself. And I reached Japan where I ended up in a Japanese monastery, the Zen monasteries that you see in the movies. That was fantastic. It was at the 1 hour by bus and then 1 hour hiking in the mountain to find that little Zen monastery in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the Japanese forest in the countryside. The setting was fantastic, it was beautiful. And I ended up in this 1 week retreat, well, it was 2 weeks, but the first week of the retreat was a silent retreat with 15 hours of meditation per day. 15 hours. Batches of 5 hours straight, 5 hours with 2 meals in between. So 2 meals a day, 15 hours of meditation. In front of a white wall. I guarantee you that was the toughest thing I still today, I've never done anything as hard as this. Be with yourself, face to face with a wall, is so far the toughest thing for me. I started to project on that wall my thoughts. I became not only aware, I could see my thoughts literally on the wall. Now, you might know, or you might have noticed, that we think a lot in images or in movies. And when you are in the zone, or when you're in the mood, or when you are completely zoned out, as we say, right? This is the time when you start picturing and imagining and visualizing images and videos around you, and you even sometimes immersed in that video, right? But that is not happening very often, that we are consciously aware of what's going on in our thoughts, right? So in that moment, in that monastery, I ended up visualizing or projecting the thoughts that I had in my head and these visualizations, but on the wall. It just happened by itself. okay? And I could see figures, I could see shapes, like kids look at the clouds and see shapes and they start seeing them move, right? It was exactly the same process. And what that helped me do is being aware that I had these thoughts and that I started to dissociate, as we call it in NLPs, being separated from these thoughts and realize that I am not the thought. You know, when you're zoned out and you're in your thoughts and you're in that movie, you realize that actually, or you don't even realize, it's like a dream. It feels so real, right? And then something wakes you up. You're like, whoa, where was I? Right? Because you were in that movie. So same thing. So I dissociated that myself from these thoughts, and these thoughts were not me. And by not being me, I could just visualize them and let them go. And then they say, watch your thoughts like the clouds passing in the sky. And the sky does not attach itself to the clouds. It does not grab onto the clouds, but lets them float by. And what we do usually is that we follow that thought and we follow that thought pattern. And if you are like me, I tend to be like many people, right? You follow a thought and then suddenly it leads you to something else, and it leads you to something else, and you end up talking about a topic that is completely irrelevant to the origin of the thought. But you had followed that path, zigzag, to end up talking about something completely different, right? And that thought is not working for you. It's leading you by the nose. It's just dragging you around and walking you around like you would walk a dog. And we're not aware of that most of the time. But once you learn this process that I'm going to share with you, once you start working on yourself with that, then you will start becoming more and more and more aware of the thought. At first, you will become aware of the thought after the event happened. You have a situation, you're in it, like you're in that dream, like you're in that movie, you're fully associated in that story, you're fighting, you're arguing, you're letting it out without being conscious of what's going on. You're not mindful, you're not focused, you're in it, right? Then you separate yourself physically and in time from that situation. You're not in that situation anymore, and you end up reflecting back on that situation and realizing that, wait, oh, I was thinking that, and I was thinking something else, and at that time I was, and you realize what you were thinking about at that time, but you were not aware at that time, right? So what you can do is that once you start practicing on this, is that you're shortening the time between the event and the thought, what your realization is, so that it gets closer and closer and closer until one day you are aware of what you're doing at the moment you're doing it. So it was one of my girlfriends, like 20 years ago, we ended up arguing. Oh, remember we were in the kitchen, we ended up arguing, and after just few, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it was a bit intense, and after maybe 30 seconds, we just looked at each other in the eyes, and we realized what happened, and we started laughing. Laughing at the ridiculousness of the situation, laughing at what we were arguing about. And I can't even remember, it was just so petty that it was, at that moment you don't realize that because you're in it, and that pen is so important for you that it was not in the right side. It's like the end of you. But at that moment, when you realize what your mind is into, what your thoughts are, this is when you dissociate yourself, and that's when you realize, like, oh my God, what's going on? And sometimes you might end up laughing. You might end up laughing sometimes, and warning, right? You might end up laughing in a situation when the person in front of you is arguing and you're completely detached and like, seriously, are we really trying to argue about this? It does not always happen to be very comfortable for the other person who is immersed in that situation, like, and that person will react and say, what? you're making fun of me. You think it's funny? And yes, it is funny if you dissociate yourself from these thoughts. Yes, it is funny if you're not into the situation, if you don't make it personal. But if you realize that it's just a thought and you are not your thought, that's when it can become funny. And that's when you can start changing your life and turning your life around by being aware that you are not your thoughts. And thoughts come and thoughts go. And just let them go wherever they need to go. And if there's a pleasant thought, follow it. Because that pleasant thought is the exact reverse of the Murphy's Law, is that you follow that thought that is going to lead you to another thought, that is going to lead you to another. Combining with the RS system that we mentioned on the first step about the mindset, this is where you start seeing opportunities. You start witnessing possibilities. And I used to call myself an opportunist until I realized that people don't really like that, because opportunist sounds like you're trying to step on others, so it has a negative connotation. And I started to change my mindset and change the words I'm using, because words do matter. They reflect what's in your mind. And I started to call myself a possibilitist, because I'm not looking for problems anymore to solve, to make friends. I'm not looking for problems to solve. I'm not a problem solver anymore. I'm not looking for opportunities anymore. Now I'm looking for possibilities. And by all looking for possibilities, my mindset, my mind is set to possibilities, to looking for possibilities. And since then, my RS system is activated so that it's always looking for possibilities. Always, always, always. And yes, of course, I go through challenges. Of course, I have my ups and downs. I have much more ups than downs now. But I still have downs. And it's not about not having downs. It's like music. Music is made of notes and silences. Without the silences, you don't have music. It's just a plain, annoying tune. Like in my speech now. I use the silence as well to hopefully entice you to be and to want more for yourself, to want to feel better as well. So the ups and downs are still there. But I'm using the downs to as a catalyst, as a trigger to realize that, hey, what are you doing? What are you thinking about now? Think about what you want, not what you don't want. If you ask people around, go and do this exercise after we're done with this call here. Go and do this exercise and ask somebody, first person you meet and who you know, and ask them, hey, just tell me one thing. What is it that you want in life? And 99% you will have somebody who's going to tell you what they don't want. Ask your partner, ask your kids, tell me, what do you want in life? Maybe kids are going to tell you what they want. If I go and ask my daughter now, she's going to say, I want a toy, I want this, I want that. Okay, fine. You know what you want, that's good. Now go and get it, go for it. But a vast majority of adults are going to tell you what they don't want. Because their minds are set towards what they don't want. They are not set towards what they want. And they're going to tell you when you're going to say, what about, so that's what you don't want. What about what you do want? Then they might pause and say, that's a good question actually. Duh, it's a good question, yes. I'm trying to help you focus on what you do want so that you can go for it, right? And others will tell you, yeah, so this is what I do want, but. And straight away that mind goes straight to but. But. Problem, not possibilities. Problem, not even solution. Just problem. Yes, but I can't. Yes, but it's not easy. Yes, but I've been told that. Yes, but. But if you go towards the what you want, and put your mindset towards that, then your reticular activity system is going to look for that. Right? So when, and to show you and to illustrate even more how this practically applied for me in my life. My wife used to, she's still cooking a lot, and she made yesterday an awesome meal. Anyway, I'm diverging. So she cooks a lot. She likes to cook, she's in the kitchen, and our daughter was very young, she started to walk around, and so my wife is cooking, she's chopping things, and she had the annoying habit of having the board just on the edge of the table, and for some reason she couldn't put the board on the surface, right? Fully on the surface. No, it had to be a little bit over the edge. I still don't understand how she managed to keep that balance and to chop and to leave the knife as well hanging on the edge. For my biggest fears, for my daughter to potentially, right, potentially be hurt. Thank God my fear was not strong enough for too long that it did happen. It did not happen. But I was focusing so much on that every time I would enter the kitchen, either she was there with the board over the edge, or she was not there and the knife was there over the edge, ready to fall to whoever would not pay attention. And every single time, and now I'm generalizing, because that was my mindset, every single time I would get in the house, in the kitchen, I would see that. I could not see anything else except that. I could not see that she was not home and with our daughter, they were gone for shopping or anything. I would be alone and I could see only that. I could see only the potential problem and nothing else. Until I realized, when I started to be aware, more aware of my thoughts, then I realized that, hey, you can do something about it, right? Zav, put the board against more on the table, right? Take the knife, push it away, or even wash it since you had it. How about that, right? But I had to reframe that situation. I had to reframe the meaning that I kept on putting on it, which is she's careless, she's not mindful, she's whatever, and all the rest that was going on in my mind, right? But the moment I became aware, like I said, there's the event, and then you react at a later stage, and you get closer and closer and closer as you get used to being aware of your thoughts. I would become aware at the moment when I enter the kitchen and it sparks. It's, oh, look at that, and boom, do something about it. Yeah, but look at that. Yeah, you can do that. The knife is there, yes, and you can take it away. The board can fall, yes, and you can wash it. And it automatic action reaction, a trigger. That happens when you are aware of what's going on in your thoughts, in your head, and taking ownership so you can take action. So now, the exercise. The exercise is not necessarily an exercise, well, we can start the exercise now, but it's for you to get to practice that. And what I would like to offer you is a process that it can take some time, and it can become very easy for you because it is about reconnecting to your body and being more aware of what you're going through. So there are 3 levels to being more aware of yourself. The first one is the gross level. The gross level is the physical or the physicality of things. It is about becoming more aware, more acute senses, developing these acute senses of touch. Touching on the skin, objects, and realizing that they have different textures. What I used to do, and I still do it actually, when I go to a shop, a clothes shop or anything else, I walk around and I let my hand go through and touch all the clothes, and I feel all the textures, the different feelings, different textures, and I become very sensitive to these different fabrics and material. Now, why is this important to go through that? and again, that's just one way of doing it, right? Is that you become more sensitive to the growth, which is the easy and obvious of our senses. Once you get more sensitive to this, then you start feeling more about your emotions. Your emotions are powerful, your emotions are strong, but the emotions are a reflection of what you're feeling inside. And the feelings are a bit more challenging to identify and to feel, right? But you can feel them much easier once you're more aware of your body. One of the most challenging places to be aware of on our body is our feet. They are further disconnected or further connected to the head, and therefore it's more challenging to be consciously aware of how our feet feel. So if for a second you focus on your feet right now and try to feel what your feet feel. Whether you are on the carpet, you have socks, or you have shoes, or you're on tiles, whatever the material you're standing on or you're touching, just feel your feet, feel your toes, feel the sensations on the sole of the foot, around the foot if you have shoes or socks or sandals or anything else that you're wearing, or nothing, or feel even the air on the top of your foot. And the more you practice this, the more you're helping being aware of your whole body. When we talk about multitasking, what has been debunked actually, sorry for you ladies, but however, the multitasking is actually the fact that our mind focuses on one thing at a time, but you ladies, for some reason, have that capability of shifting from one topic to another and back to the first one, back to the second one, first one, second one, first one, second one, so fast that it gives the impression that you're multitasking and that you are two places at the same time. But in a sense, you're doing one thing at a time, focusing on that one thing at a time, focusing on another thing at a time, and you manage to sift and sort and shift much faster than usually the male brain do by default. We can train that. We can train that. Going back to being aware of the body, you might feel at the beginning a bit challenging to feel two body parts at the same time. But with practice you will be able to, until you manage to feel, so you feel your feet right now, and then you manage to maybe feel your feet and feel your hands at the same time. Closing your eyes will help you enhance that sensitivity and these growing sensations. And then you start feeling your entire body at the same time. And this is the process that you go through. Once you start feeling your entire body, you will start feeling inside the sensations of your emotions, and therefore behind these emotions, the feelings that you're having. And once you're starting to feel more about your emotions and your feelings, then you will start seeing your thoughts more clearly. You will become more aware of your thoughts more clearly. So here, that's the three-step process. That is very easy process to go through, but also very powerful and very useful to go through and build that progressively. And I still do it. Like I said, I go to the shopping mall and I browse through the clothes just by touching them. I'm so aware of my body now that I know where my feelings are, where my sensations, where the sensations are, and how you will be able to dissociate between the pleasant feelings and the negative feelings. And you might even find locations on your body, around your body, where the positive feelings are somehow more connected to a certain area of your body, and the negative ones are in another area. And that will serve you at a later stage. Once you go through that, feel your body, feel your sensations, feel your feelings, and then you start being aware of your thoughts. Once you start being aware of your thoughts, you're dramatically reducing that gap between the event and the thought until you have it instantaneously at the same time. Thank you, Oksana. I like you. Enjoy you like it. Thank you very much. The third step that I want to share with you today is about the old story. Once you're aware of your thoughts, so once you have your mindset towards what you want, once you are aware of your thought, then you will start realizing that you are also dragging your past. And your past is your own experience, but it's also what the education that you've received, your caretakers, your parents, even your siblings, your cousins, whoever you've been growing up with, that you're bringing this with you. There was a time when I was really aware of what I had gone through my education at home, my parents, without going too much into details because it's not the point of this story specifically, but the fact that I had gone through my own stuff, right? And I'm sure you have too as well. We all have our own shit that we are dragging and our own cross to bear, as we like to say. But what I realized is that I did not want, and that's where my mindset was, I did not want to be my father. I was totally against it. I was doing everything I could not to be my father. And if you remember from the first point about mindset, guess what I started to become like? My father. Because my focus was, I don't want, and I end up having what I don't want. Because I was focusing so much on that, right? So this was a pure example of me dragging my own story. There was a time, a long time ago in Japan, ancient Japan, two monks who were walking down the forest in silence, and they had made a vow of silence for life. And they walked silently, very mindful, fully aware of their body, fully aware of the sounds around them. And they reached a small stream, but muddy stream. And there was that lady that they found by the river with a beautiful kimono, you know, the silk, beautiful colors, who was waiting, not knowing what to do. And the master and his apprentice looked at her, and the master did not even think twice. He didn't think about his vows, which were not only about the vow of silence, was also the vow of not touching anybody from the opposite sex. He did not think twice. As soon as he crossed his eyes with that lady, he picked her up in his arms, crossed the river, put her down gently on the other side of the river, in front of the astonished apprentice, who could not believe his eyes. How could the master touch somebody from the opposite sex while being in his vows? They continue. They cross, the apprentice crosses the stream as well, and they continue on their walk, silently, listening to the sounds around, being mindful of their body, being mindful of the steps they're making, every single step. But you could see and you could feel that the apprentice was agitated. He could not hold it any longer, and he broke his vow, silent, and said, Master, how could you carry that lady? This is against our vows, this is against our laws, this is against our everything that we've been preaching and teaching, is against the scriptures. And the master listened patiently to his apprentice, and he said, my young apprentice, I dropped that lady hours ago. It seems you're still carrying her. And this is exactly what we do. We bring our past with us. We bring our education with us. We bring our parents with us. We bring the events that happened in the past, the arguments that we had, and we bring them over days, over months, over years, decades. I remember 10 years ago you said that. You're still carrying it, and you you will feel, now that you become more aware of your body and feeling sensations and thoughts, and you will feel that you're back in that situation of months and years and 10 years ago, and you're back into it. And it happens sometimes that somebody is relating to me about a situation and telling me, this is what happened, and this is what was said, and this is what a person said, and I'm telling that person, I said, hey, one, you're not in that situation anymore. Two, I'm not that person. So what are you getting so agitated about? Right? This is because our body does not make the difference in time. Yes, our body ages, but our body does not make any difference about the time things happen or happened or will happen. It follows our mind, because our mind connects our feelings translating into emotions, and feelings and emotions are translated to body sensations, and our body reacts as if it was real. And that's why I started with a mindset. Because once you are aware of your thoughts, then you bring it back, you re-engineering backwards what's going on. And as soon as you're aware of your thoughts, this is when you stop and break the pattern, because this is where you can break the pattern and say, whoa, that thought, if I stop that thought, then I don't have the feeling, then I don't have the emotions, then I don't have the reaction, I don't have the behavior that I don't want. Make sense? So I'll give you an example. When I was, we were traveling, my wife and our daughter, to the cliffs of Moher in Ireland. Beautiful cliffs, 300 meters tall, sheer drop into crushing waves on the rocks. Beautiful. Now, of course, it's protected, it's for tourists, but there's a path that you can go along the coastline and reach the peak of these 300 plus meters tall cliffs. And our daughter was starting to walk. She was, I can't remember, I think she was about 5. And so she was walking well already at that time. And we ended up walking on that path along the coast, and there was no protection anymore, there's no barrier, and we ended up in that path that is as narrow as, I think it was about 10 meters maximum, 10 meters, with rocks on one side that goes to the fields, and nothing at all, just 300-meter drop. And the path was, if you look around you and check what 10 meters are, it's quite small, right? And I was holding my daughter's hand, and my wife left by herself. We couldn't go with her anymore. It was getting even narrower and narrower. It was too dangerous. Our daughter was agitated. She was just yanking my arm, wanting me to let her go, because I was so afraid. I was holding her tight. Maybe I was even hurting her, I don't know. So I was holding her right by that cliff. And at one point, she yanked my arm so hard, I thought I was about to let her go. And I pulled her, and my arm, I felt, and to date, I still don't know if it did happen or not. But it was so real that I felt that my hand went up to give her a slap. It felt so real that even today I do not know if I raised my hand or not. I did not slap, but reaction. I hold her tight so that she doesn't go towards that cliff. She was like 4 meters away from the cliff now. And my hand goes up. And my mind like, what the are you doing? You're becoming your dad. This is what your dad would have done. And I dropped my hand, and I kneeled down next to her, and I talked to her eye to eye. And I said, Iris, if you go there, you fall. If you fall, she had no idea about death. She had no clue. 4 or 5 years old. She had no clue about anything. She knew one thing. It was about her mom and her dad. And I said, Iris, if you go there and you fall, you will never ever see mommy and daddy again. And she started crying, and we hugged, and we spent the following 1 hour together. We didn't move. I didn't want to create anything else. We didn't move. I moved a little bit closer to the rocks of the farm, and we ended up playing with stones and comparing stones and gravels and these kind of things for 1 hour, just playing together, connecting like that. But imagine for a second, my hand had really been there, and my hand had really gone towards her and slapped her. What do you think would have happened? And this is how powerful our minds are, and how powerful our old stories that we're dragging with us, and we are reacting by default without even realizing what's going on, without even being aware that we are reacting. And what I would like us to be, what I am working on, is being responsible. And responsible is being able to respond. Not react by default. It's about being able to know and understand what's going on in my mind and my body, my feelings. And I understand and I feel it straight away, and I can see it clearly, and I make a conscious decision as opposed to reacting. Yes, we have a reptilian brain. Yes, we have something reminiscent from millions of years ago, but we're not animals anymore, right? Although some people might say so, but we're not animals. We have the power of thought. We have the power of feeling. But we also have the power of awareness and self-awareness, and that can help us. That can help us be different, be aware, transcend our own condition, so that we can make conscious decisions and break the old patterns, the old story that we are dragging and that we are bringing with us. The I don't want to be like my father anymore. I don't want to do what my mother did. Yesterday again, I had a discussion with Alice about trust and about what we're trying to do for her and what we are trying to do despite everything. Our parents were doing whatever they could, whatever they thought was good for us, but they never said it, right? They just reacted. They brought their own old story with them. My father reproduced exactly, he became close to the father he had, very strict, and sending him to boarding school with the Jesuits and a stick and everything else. He just reproduced everything. He was so much, well, he's still alive, and he started to mature more now. But he started to be more aware that he was becoming his father. I started to become my father, even physically. We were discussing a few days ago, like, I started to become my father more and more. Maybe that's why I'm growing the beard, because he doesn't have a beard. But you know what I mean? It is about being aware that our minds and our patterns are just reactions and bringing from the old story that I want to break. But you don't break it by focusing on the old story and say, I don't want to be like that, I don't want to be like that. For 40 years I've tried that. It didn't work. I needed to create myself. In order to create myself to what I wanted to go to, I needed to create new mindset. The Xavier you know now, the Xavier you see here now is I built it. I built him. I created him. And he started with a mindset, point number 1. Being aware of my thoughts, point number 2. And stopping this old story and creating a new story for myself. So I would like you to think and reflect a little bit on what is the recurring thought that you keep on having. What is the old pattern that you have? What is the thought that is not even yours, that you keep on having, that you keep on bringing with you? What is it? And it's not about judging it. It's not about even judging yourself for being or reacting and bringing that with you all along. It's about being aware of it. Because once you're aware, then you have the power. The power to change, the power to choose, the power to choose how you feel. Believe it or not, you can choose how you feel. You can have processes, you can have techniques, you can have triggers. You can have automatic reaction that helps you trigger new thoughts, new processes, new patterns and new beliefs and new feelings. Every single time that trigger gets activated. So what is it that you've been bringing with you from the past that you can now let go of? It served you so far. Yes, it did. It did. Because that gave you a foundation. That gives you the core of who you are, right? But it is not who you are. It's like thoughts. The thoughts are not who you are. But this past has helped you. It has helped you and served you tremendously. And now you can choose to let it go. It's like when you cross the river with a boat. You don't bring the boat with you because that boat really helped you cross that river. Right? Like carrying that lady. You can let it go. It served you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let it go. And focus on what you want to create for yourself. Focus on who you want to become. So these are the 3 steps. Setting your mindset towards what you want. Be aware of your thought, be aware of your body, of your feelings, your emotions, and your thoughts so that you can dissociate yourself from the thoughts. And then realize step number 3, that you are dragging your old story with you. And that you can finally let it go. And these 3 steps is what I'm creating. It's just the tip of the iceberg of all the things that I want to share with you. All the things that I can share with you, all the techniques and tips and tricks and more exercises so that you can have this self-reflection, becoming more self-aware. But do you want to hit rock bottom before you start changing? Or do you want to take ownership? It is in the very famous sentence, right, from Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. I always love to take that upside down and inside out. With great responsibility, the power to respond, comes great power. It is when you take ownership of what's going on in your life, and when you are aware of what's going on in your life, that you can make the choice of changing it for the better. If you don't like something, change it. If you don't want something, focus on what you want. And that's your power of responsibility. When you take responsibility for what's going on in your life, then you can have and take that power. That is the power you have. The power to choose what you want, the power to choose to feel better. I think I was about 10 years old. I was swimming. We ended up in a club, in beach club, with a swimming pool that I believe was about at least 5 meters deep. 5 meters for a 10-year-old, that's deep. That's really deep. And I started to play. I was by myself. It was a kind of a cylinder. It was a cylinder actually. And so I go down and I started to do some deep diving, right? Free diving. So holding my breath and going down. And I was like, man, it's deep. I could see, didn't have goals, but I could see how far it was already, despite the chlorine and everything else. And what I did is that, okay, push myself, let's go all the way down. Let's try. Hold my breath and I go down, like a rock. Mid-water, hence the expression. Mid-water, I freak out. Mid-water, I stop myself from going down and I start going up. I get chills just to think about it again. I stop, I freak out, I stop, I start swimming and swimming and swimming and swimming. And the surface is not getting any closer at all. I freak out even more. I'm like, oh my God, am I going to die? Am I going to die? And I had a spark of insight. And that spark of insight told me, go down, go deeper. And I said to go down until I hit the floor. Once I hit the floor, then I could crouch and push myself up and go up to the surface, and I'm still here. No accident, nothing. Just a change of focus. And this is where the expression is about being mid-water. This is where the other expression, hitting rock bottom. Once you hit rock bottom, there's only one way, it's up. But the question is, do you want to hit rock bottom before you start changing the life? Changing your behavior towards the life you want? You don't have to hit rock bottom. You can catch yourself up mid-water and going up. But that requires you not to freak out. That requires you to have the skills. At 10 years old, I could swim, but I was not an experienced swimmer. Now, of course I could do it now, right? Because I know how to swim and I know I can catch myself up. Even if it's difficult, it is possible. But do you want to hit rock bottom or start making the change for yourself? So all of these 3 points and all these stories to illustrate and to relate to you, to hopefully connect with, or to make you realize that I went through this already, and that I have techniques and I have a process to go through, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you have found some things that are valuable that you can bring back home, take with you, start applying straight away, I always in all my videos, in all my trainings and all my webinars, I always give things that can be applied straight away, because I believe that it's not about being receptive and just listening passively. It's about interacting, and it's about taking notes, and it's about applying, so that you have that muscle memory, that body memory, that mind memory, so that you can work on yourself. I have created a workshop. It's a full day workshop that I'm going to put on, and it's going to be a live workshop. It's going to be 6 hours straight, intense, and that is going to require you to take action. That's going to take you to the next level. That's going to go through these exercises that we went through much deeper. I have a lot more techniques and exercises that I want to share with you that I could not share with you in these 90 minutes, even if we started that a bit later. But this is going to be really powerful and transformative for you if you want to take action. I cannot do it for you. Nobody else can do it for you. One sentence that has been my motto for the last 10-15 years now, and that is keeping me up and sharp, is that circumstances do not matter. Only my state of being matters. This is a quote from a very or a speaker that I really admire called Bashar, and that I really enjoy listening to, and that has been following me all the way for the last 10-15 years, and that has helped me get that into it. I would suggest you find something, a motto for yourself as well, a situation, something that creates a belief, something that helps you create that mindset, that reminds you about the mindset, about being aware of your thoughts and your whole story, so that you can focus on what you want. Something that you can repeat every day, from any time in the day. Set a reminder on your phone. You have a reminder, you have tools now around you that you can set up. You set it as a reminder, you set it as an alarm every day, every couple of hours, that keeps on reminding you of that motto, that sentence that is triggering your willingness, you wanting to go through and to go towards what you want to do. So that is these three that I wanted to share with you today. Again, there's a tip of the iceberg. I have so much that I want to share with you. I have that workshop. Please go on Facebook, on Soul Providers Tribe, register to the group. I will be posting when the workshop is ready and when we're going live. Feel free to pass this on as well to your network, to your friends, to your family. Share with them about this experience that you've had. go through it again, listen to it again. I've shared a lot of things and a lot of tools today that you can apply straight away and that can really help other people. So join the tribe, join this group, Soul Providers Tribe. It is free to join. The workshop will be paid. That is, of course, because if you pay, you pay attention. If you don't pay, you will, come out and you will not get anything. My willingness, my intention is to help and share these tools to people who want to change, who want to make a difference for their families, who know that it is about themselves to start with, to take ownership, take responsibility, and to get their power back. We've lost our power because of our story, because we're not aware of our thoughts, and because we do not have necessarily the mindset. This is for you today. Watch it again. It's being recorded. I'll be posting it as well. Originally, I wanted to make it a course, but you know what? Let's do it. I'll give it for free. Let's put it back. Let's bring it back. Give forward. I really want to share that. I hope you enjoyed it today. I hope you took something out. There's just one thing I'm sure you took out, at least one. Please put it in the comments, share it, and I would be very, very happy to read them and to respond as well. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. Until we talk again, breathe and stay centered. Ciao, everyone. Thanks so much.